Traveler, let me show you how to have the best start at No Man's Sky Worlds, where I show you how to make billions of units and tons of nanites. While we make all that space cheddar, we're going to be upgrading all of our cargo and technology slots, as well as getting all 16 glyphs. I'll show you exactly where you can get this really awesome S-Class Sentinel Ship, as well as this awesome S-Class multi-tool. I ended up finding them both. Getting this glorious S-Class pirate dreadnought here is super easy when you know how. Feel free to stop by Cheddar Paradise 1 and say hi. Let's get on with it. If you're a brand new player to No Man's Sky, I recommend that you play in normal mode on your first playthrough. That way you can have the maximum stack size with items. When you start your playthrough, your tune's going to kind of be spinning around. The moment that it stops, the direction that you're facing right now is the direction of your crashed ship, so just kind of wander in that direction. You're going to start out with full life support, but really low hazard protection, so look for oxygen to fill up your life support, but most definitely look for the sodium plants, because that's the only way to fill up your hazard protection early on. As you're bumbling around through the wilderness, it never hurts to mine up these carbon crystals as well as these dihydrogen crystals. You're definitely going to need these later. While we're at it, we might as well go over how to mine properly. Now, the best way is to keep your laser really hot so you can mine things faster, but don't let it overheat. If it ever gets too hot, just take your finger off the button and put it right back on. As I run in the direction of my crashed ship, I'm also kind of looking for a cave. I mostly want to get my hands on a little bit of cobalt, as well as mine some of those hazardous flora that are in there for some oxygen as well as sodium. Hopefully this is even going to be a cave. Oh well, at least my hazard protection will recharge here for free. Now that I'm relatively safe, we need to focus on getting this scanner fixed here, as well as getting an analysis visor put into our multi-tool. We have plenty of carbon to make these nanotubes here. That's going to be an easy fix, but we're definitely still going to need that ferrite dust. You can get carbon from any of the plant life around you, but in order to get ferrite dust, you're going to look for the little rocks on the ground. Keeping your mining laser nice and hot, but not overheating, again, is the very best way to do this, so you spend less time gathering items. When you run out of mining beam laser power, you can either drag and drop the carbon inside your exosuit onto your mining tool, or you can just access the quick menu there by pressing X on PC and fill it up that way. It's much quicker. Now that we have enough ferrite dust, I can get my scanner fixed up. That's going to come in super duper handy. The analysis visor does take a single nanotube to get that fixed up, so we whipped one up, stuffed it in there. Now our multi-tool is pretty much sorted. Pressing F on PC will open up your analysis visor, and you're looking for items that have question marks on them. You want to scan absolutely everything you can find. For now, I just scanned this cobalt here in order to find out what the secondary drop was, because you cannot get that secondary drop until it's scanned. For us, it's dihydrogen. Now that's pretty awesome. I'll be using the cobalt to make money later, of course I will, as well as make some ion batteries here in just a little bit for our hazard protection. There are stalagmite and stalactite versions of cobalt, so make sure you scan the ones on the ceiling too. When you're bumbling around these caves early on, just be careful for these hazardous flora here. They have a really big gas cloud. The other good thing is, though, they have a ton of oxygen and sodium on them, so farm as many of them as you can. Caves are pretty awesome because you won't take any environmental damage, so I might as well get my scan on in here and scan as many items as I possibly can before heading outside. You'll also want to be on the lookout for cave marrow if you find a cave. Cave marrow can be turned into sodium, and that's going to be really handy. When you mine cobalt, you're going to find geodes. You can analyze them to get a little bit of extra cobalt as well as ionized cobalt. Oxygen is like super valuable in No Man's Sky, so let's make some life support gel. It's going to take 40 dihydrogen to make one of these jellies, so I'm probably only going to make 6 of these life support gels. Carbon literally grows on trees, so that's not going to be a problem. Ion batteries, those are super cheap to make, only 10 carbon and 5 ferrite dust. We're going to make a whole boat pile of these. With our life support and hazard protection totally sorted, it's time to get our scan on again. Now, I highly recommend that you scan all the minerals and all the plants so you know the secondary drop. Try your very best to scan all the animals on your first planet, because if you do, you're going to unlock a bunch of nanites, and that is super duper handy, although I didn't do it on this run. Following the red and white quest marker will lead you to your crash ship, and right next to that, there is a whole bunch of free oxygen, so you might as well just grub that up. Over by the flag, there will be some red, green, possibly a yellow box. All that will have loot inside. The cylinder in the background requires an Atlas Volume 1 pass, so we can't get that loot. Rest assured, if you're a new player to No Man's Sky, whenever I interact with these quest beacons here, I will not show you what happens, so you get to figure it out on your own. It's actually kind of cool. Once you interact with the quest beacon there, it's going to direct you to get back into your ship. You have to do this in order to start the repair process. After a little more lore is revealed, don't worry, you can't screw that part up, you're going to be directed to get the hermetic seal. Making the metal plate's going to be super easy, but we also need to repair the launch thrusters. That's going to take pure ferrite. Pressing Z will open up the build menu on PC. Just place down the portable refiner. You can refuel the portable refiner with either condensed carbon or carbon. Since we have to make a base pretty soon, I'm just going to use the condensed carbon. If you remember early on, I looted that green crate. Well, it had rusted metal in it, and rusted metal can be turned into ferrite dust. Oh my god, so Insect Bro here totally startled me. I thought he might attack me, then I remembered on your first planet, none of the animals are aggressive. Near your crash ship, there will almost always be a cave. Now, you're either going to find these subterranean relics, or you'll find these Venus flytrap looking things that have pearls. Always loot those. Yeah, totally forgot about talking about these damaged machineries. Now, you can get living slime off them, some other stuff as well, like poop. But you can also get S-Class upgrade modules, which is totally win. In our case, we got nanites, and that's also good. Now that I got all that rusted metal turned into ferrite dust, let's get those marrow bulbs turned into sodium, and then I'll finally get around to making what I need to make. Totally and completely forgot that it takes a metal plate as well as oxygen to make a portable refiner, so I had to make another metal plate. Now we can get that installed into our pulse engine. Cha-ching. Our ship will use that sodium for its shields if we ever get attacked by bad guys. Let's get some of this living slime all converted down into runaway mold. We can slap that jelly into the launch thruster. You know, eventually I'm going to get around to refining the pure ferrite. But right now, in this exact moment, it is not that time, because we got to convert all this runaway mold into nanites. Now, early on, this method isn't going to earn you a lot of nanites, even though every nanite counts. But don't worry, at the end of the video, I show you exactly where to get hundreds of thousands of runaway mold. Finally, get around to converting all that dust into pure ferrite. And just like that, we have everything repaired that we can repair, except for the hermetic seal. Once you hop back into your ship, No Man's Sky will guide you through the process of how to find it. Hop back out to start the hermetic seal quest, head over to the beacon that is marked with the red and white icon. Doing so will give you a planetary chart, so take that chart. We're going to need that to find the hermetic seal easily. Press E on PC to plot your route. It's going to throw you up in the sky. It is worth noting that if you see any other buildings that are closer, you can actually go there and get the hermetic seal instead. But yeah, I don't really see any that are closer, so we're going to go over there. Flying around like Space Superman is pretty daggone cool, so in order to do that, you just press Shift and Q at the same time while holding down your spacebar in PC. Heading towards the hermetic seal is going to cause a storm, so make sure you have enough hazard protection. Or you can just break your neck like I am and just head directly there, flying like Superman. You should get there before you run out of the protection. Yoink! There'll likely be another damaged machinery nearby, so loot that up. Blech, slime. Not in it for the slime, just hoping to get an S-Class upgrade. Now well, at least we got some nanites. Let's hop inside there, grab ourselves the hermetic seal. It'll be located in the Holo Archive. Gonna skip a little bit of storyline. Now you have it. On your way back to the ship, take your time to scan all the fauna. Try to get all of them as best you can. You definitely build this oxygen recycler. I should have made this earlier. Sadly, I didn't find all the fauna. I'm missing one of them, which totally sucks, but at least we can get the hermetic seal plopped into our pulse engine. My next goal is get to the Space Anomaly as quickly as possible, which means pounding out a whole bunch of quests. That means landing and taking off a whole bunch of times, so make sure you make at least 4 or 5 of these Starship launch fuels. Holding down W will allow you to take off, and if you press X to get into the quick menu, look for the gear icon, then your ship, you can get into third-person view. You can call me old school, but personally I like the cockpit view, so after we get up into space, I'll probably switch back. At this stage, the Awakening quest is going to prompt you on how to basically fly your ship. Now, No Man's Sky does an absolutely amazing job holding your hand through these quest lines in order to teach you how to play. Once you engage and then disengage your pulse engine, you're going to be contacted by a mysterious alien. He will give you a set of coordinates which will lead you directly to the signal source. Locating this signal source will unlock the base computer as well as the terrain manipulator, so it's highly recommended to get this done as soon as you can. The quest beacon will give you a generalized location of where you need to land to start the quest, but technically you're just looking for a piece of damaged machinery that has a flag nearby. Unfortunately, we picked the wrong landing location, so just bust out with your analysis visor. It'll be tuned into the signal source automatically and just head in that direction. Oh yeah, my fat cells are complaining to my brain right now for not remembering which damaged machinery to look for. If I keep having to run to all these locations and find them on my own, I'm not going to be able to make a super fat Viking avatar later, and that's going to bum me out. I might as well cash in on a few free nanites at this point. Now, I just got to this planet, so I haven't scanned hardly anything quite yet, but that first planet, I scanned the heck out of that one. The problem is I took off a little bit too soon. I should have stayed, got more ferrite, dust, and carbon. I probably would have found that other life form and netted an extra 1,500 nanites. Getting a whole boat pile of nanites early on can really help you, traveler, so try to get that last one. You can rename anything that you scan before you upload it. In most cases, that's going to be an animal, but yeah, I'm far too lazy to be doing that. We're just here for the nanites. Yeah, 79 nanites sucks. The terrain manipulator is pretty awesome, so let's get that installed into our multi-tool. The terrain manipulator will allow you to raise or lower the ground as well as flatten it, but we're mostly here to dig holes in the ground and find these buried technology modules. There will almost always be a buried technology right next to these damaged machinery. In just a bit, I plan on building a base, and we're going to need a whole bunch of those salvaged data, so we might as well just keep farming these buried technology modules. Every now and then, you're going to end up finding 2 of these buried technology modules together, and when that happens, it's totally freaking glorious. The other thing we're going to need to throw down our base computer is actually chromatic metal, and we can make that from this copper here. Just make sure when you're using the terrain manipulator to use the smallest bubble possible, and to do that you're going to be pressing R. Using the smallest bubble to mine these deposits will make you take longer to get them, but you will get more resources while you're doing it. If you want to make your bubble bigger, say a hole that you can actually walk in, then all you have to do is press T to make the bubble bigger. Another great way to make money is to turn salt into chlorine, so yeah, wow. The byproduct of this salt here is oxygen, and well, you need oxygen to turn that salt into chlorine, so that's win-win. Here is another interesting looking mineral that will give us salt, and the byproduct is ferrite dust, which is useful, but not as useful as that oxygen would be. I think I've farmed up enough salvage data and copper. It's now time to look for our very first base location. I generally like to build next to either a miner's settlement or a trading post. Both locations will have a galactic trade terminal and a landing pad. I don't care about the environment on either the planet or moon. It's mostly about those 2 locations that I like. And traveler, it can take you definitely a lot longer than it took me, because it only took me a few minutes. Yeah! Being able to take off for free is totally a gigantic bag of win, and having a galactic trade terminal nearby, well, that helps me sell all my craps really super quick. Unfortunately, after selling all the stuff I didn't need, I'm just short on buying 5 microprocessors, so I had to sell 1 of my salvaged data. Yeah, that hurts me in the butt. The next part of our Awakenings quest will unlock the Hyperdrive, so it's a lot easier just to have these 5 microprocessors on hand before you head over there. Well, that was relatively awkward. While I was selling all my junks there, it was saying I was creating chromatic metal, although I hadn't even started creating it yet. So yeah, we still need 30 to create our base computer. Let's get her done. While we're at it, I might as well turn some of our vast supply of ferrite dust into pure ferrite. I mean, and while I'm at it, our construction research unit is going to need some magnetized ferrite when we build our base. I might as well just knock that out as well. Now, I think you can only find uranium on toxic and radiated planets, so your mileage may vary, but uranium is actually pretty awesome. I'll use some way later in the video when I'm cloning plants, but this stuff right here works really good for launch thruster fuel if you didn't make any. When you refill your terrain manipulator, don't waste your ferrite, always use the silica powder. There was literally so much salt around that uranium, I couldn't help myself, I had to mine it all up like a greedy little traveler. which is actually a good thing because I was totally broke as a joke. I forgot to mine any asteroids out in the asteroid belt when I left the planet's atmosphere for the first time, and we need gold in order to make solar panels, which is going to power our entire base. I mean, I'm still poor, I guess. I only have 100,000, and we only need a few salt to make a whole bunch of salt, so I might as well just sell the rest of it and be rich, sort of. I reckon it's time to put down our base computer. Let's put it over here by the ladder so I can be nice and lazy. I can just walk out of my base, climb up there, and go deal with the trade terminal little ship guys whenever I need to. Interacting with the base computer a second time will give you some more storyline as well as base components. Prepare yourself, traveler, for the most glorious base build you have ever witnessed in No Man's Sky. For I am the self-proclaimed champion of building box bases in the entire galaxy. Yes, I am even better than Jason Plays or Survival Bob. Because neither of us know how to build a real base, so we just build boxes. Instead of talking a whole bunch of smack about being the best box builder, I guess I could have mentioned that the moment you start trying to build your base for the first time, yeah, a storm's going to try to buck you down. Well, that's awkward. I want to build the construction research unit, but we don't have any carbon. Well, guess I'll just take that rusted metal out of there and then blow up my portable refinery. That's going to give us some carbon back. Let's place it right back. This time I'm going to fill it with condensed carbon, and since it won't give me condensed carbon back, I'll just get a whole bunch of carbon back. So yeah, we're kind of cheesing the system because, you know, far too lazy to go outside and farm carbon for like 15 seconds. I'm still working really hard to be able to make my avatar a really fat Viking avatar when I get to the space station, but that's not going to happen if I don't be lazy. So, you know, trying really hard, guys, trying really hard to be lazy. I got my construction research unit down, but I already know I'm screwing the pooch because realistically I need 14 salvaged data instead of 11. So yeah, gonna have to go back out there not being lazy and farm up some more, unfortunately. Now 14 is the minimum, but if you want to get 15, you can get the save beacon too, and that's really super important. Oh yeah, I can hear myself right now. It's not so much about the environment, travelers, it's about the location. Well, this planet sucks. There's always storms, so yeah. Trying to be fat and lazy is no fun when you're trying to do it in a storm, traveler. Then I stumbled across an abandoned building way early. Notice how I'm running, travelers. This doesn't look well for the fat avatar later. There are multiple egg sacs surrounding this building. I'm going to build a nice deep tube going down at an angle, and then we're going to farm absolutely everything from inside the tubes. Once you blow up the pods surrounding the larval core, they're not going to last on the ground that long, plus a whole bunch of really mean aliens are going to spawn. Yeah, they're just trying to protect their eggs, but we need them because we're greedy. Now you kind of see me using my analysis visor so I know exactly where to shoot. I'm also going to use it to see if there's any left. This is the psycho part. Once you get out of here, they're all coming to hate on you. You better get down into one of those other holes you created or they're going to beat you down. Even though they dug their way out of ground to get up on the surface, they won't go underground once they're up on the surface, so you're totally safe down here. Now you can kind of connect all your underground tunnels together to meet all up in the middle. That's kind of why I dig underneath the base. That will always keep you safe. That way they won't come and get you. These larval cores can be sold for a boatload of units or turned into nanites, and right now we need a lot of nanites. Sadly, I should have had 14 cores instead of 13, but I blew one of them up because I'm an idiot. If you're lucky enough to find an abandoned building before the, Awakenings quest forces you to find it, don't forget to head inside and talk to this weird terminal. Yeah, it's going to give you a bunch of goop. Save that for later, turn it into nanites, but it's also going to give you a whole pile of nanites. Chuck Norris always remembers to get his nanites, so traveler, don't forget your nanites. I think I literally lost 15 pounds when my avatar was running around all over the place, but at least we have enough buried technologies to get everything else that we need. We've unlocked all the necessary blueprints, farmed all the materials. Let's start with this base teleporter here, followed by the biofuel reactor, which we're barely ever going to use. Next will be the battery, and for all intents and purposes, since this is your very first Newb base, you're not going to need more than one of these. You'll have to get up on the roof of your box to place the solar panels. Now, technically, you probably only need one, but I always roll with two just in case. Yeah, you probably only need one. So begins the long convoluted process of trying to hide my wires. Yeah, sure, I could just plug these solar panels directly into my battery, but that would mean that there's a daggone wire going right through the middle of my base. So we'll just make a few connection points along the ceiling and the wall to get the wire down the edge, so it's not just poking through the very center of my base. That's gonna look a lot better. There is a wire cloaking device unit that you can buy at the Space Anomaly, but we're not quite there yet, so I gotta hide my wires the professional way. You'll want to take that wire that we hit along the wall and plug it into your battery. Create a connection from your biofuel reactor and run it into your teleporter. Connect your battery and your biofuel reactor. And just for posterity, you can run a wire from your battery to the teleporter as well. With everything set into place, we're now ready to finish off the powering our base quest, and in order to do that, you need to put carbon, condensed carbon, or oxygen into the biofuel reactor. You only really need to put a tiny bit of carbon in there, so don't go ham and waste all your fuel. Around every single planet and moon, once you get a little bit past the atmosphere, there's always going to be an asteroid belt. I usually hit up the asteroid belt right after taking off of my very first planet when I start out on a new save. I'll spend anywhere from about 10 to 15 minutes farming up as much silver, gold, and tritium as I can possibly get my hands on. This is generally my go-to to get enough units together in order to buy those 5 microprocessors, as well as have enough gold to build my solar panels. However, my main goal on this run is just to get enough tritium together so I don't have to farm it for the rest of this how-to. The hyper crystals will give you more tritium, and the gold nuggets, well, of course that's going to give you even more gold. I guess we get to be a little greedy after all. After you power up your base, the Awakening's quest is going to want you to head over to your nearest space station, and wow, do they look really cool now. Sean, bro, I don't know how you and your team keep doing it. It's like year after year, you just keep pumping out all these awesome updates. It's like you got travelers by the hundreds of thousands standing around with pockets full of money wanting to give it to you, but nope, all these updates are free. Travelers, I first started playing No Man's Sky when the Pathfinder update first came out, and I still, after all this time, am blown away by No Man's Sky. Easy come, easy go. Guess we get to be poor again because I'm going to buy a few of these wiring looms. We're going to need these for upgrades later. No, yeah, I probably just wasted my money because I'll be getting a whole bunch of wiring looms when I'm scrapping ships later. Anyways, let's upgrade one of my slots. Now, I could upgrade one of my technology slots. That's probably a really good idea because I hardly have any of them. If I remember right, if you upgrade the 5th one on the top row, it's going to be a supercharged slot. So hopefully I'm right. Let's upgrade that one. Cha-ching, it looks like a supercharged slot. That's awesome. I'll definitely be moving my life support to the supercharge and moving my crappy little C-class upgrade over there next to it. Yeah. The main reason why we're here is to talk to aliens. Just don't talk to any of the aliens that are in a booth or they'll hate your guts. Hear me out, travelers. I couldn't really go with a super fat avatar because I was running around everywhere, but I got the thickest thighs in the galaxy. After you talk to multiple aliens about the number 16, which seems to freaking trip them out, you're going to be directed to go right back to your base. Interact with your base computer. It's going to tell you that there might be somebody in trouble. There is a possible distress signal. Hop into your ship and fly over there unless you're trying to get thicker thighs than myself, and I don't think you can pull that off, traveler. Land near the crash freighter, interact with the quest beacon, and you're going to get the Hyperdrive blueprint. Since we are a wise traveler, we already have the 5 microprocessors that we need, as well as enough... Did I mention I was clubbed multiple times in the head when I was a youth? I guess I could have faked like I already had the chromatic metal, but then you saw I didn't when I got the blueprint, so yeah. We have a hyperdrive installed on our ship now, but we don't have any fuel, so let's go figure out how to find antimatter. This is when the Awakening's quest will help you find your very first abandoned building, so I guess we get to farm larval cores once again. We're going to dig a whole bunch of tunnels under all the egg sacs, going underneath the building at a 45-degree angle so all the eggs can roll down to me. With all my tunnels set in place, I headed inside, talked to the goo-covered, disgusting-looking machine, and got the Antimatter blueprint. Occasionally, when you start farming these whispering eggs, the aliens, some of them might spawn underground, so just buck that one and they'll spawn above ground after that. Sadly, this was another small building. We should have got 14, ended up blowing up 2 because I'm psycho. That's 600 nanites. Alright, this moon's actually cool because it only has 1 life form and they're really easy to find. This will help you get your life form discovery completion bonus up, although they're not going to pay you a lot of nanites. Scarfing up a little more copper so I can turn it into chromatic metal, because we need that chromatic metal to make antimatter. Ironically, we already know how to make the antimatter housing, which makes no sense. We have a working hyperdrive in our ship, as well as the ability to create warp cells. The game really starts to open up to you at this point. Engage your quick menu and then head over to the galaxy map. It is now time for us to spread our wings and head over to a new system. Click on the expand button, although it doesn't really help us now until we get an economy scanner. What we're really looking for is a different type of system, either a Gek or a Korvax. We're already in a Viking right now. As soon as you arrive in system, the Awakening quest is going to take over and direct you to go to somewhere else, but ain't nobody got time for that. For now, we're going to head over to the space station and upgrade another one of these technology slots. Then I'll check out to see if the technology merchant has anything good, and he does. We'll take that life support. We'll stick that S-Class upgrade right next to my life support tank, and yeah. When you go after the fuel source, it's going to want you to land like 50 bajillion miles away, and you're going to have to run there and find it. Instead, just look for the awkward-looking alien monolith, land next to that, because that is exactly where we want to go. There are 4 visions that will teach you alien words. Check them all out. After you've learned 4 words, interact with the anomaly. Here it'll give you a little bit of storyline as well as another warp cell. This will give you the stranger's coordinates. Head over in that direction. When you're getting there, you're looking for a crashed ship, which I, for the life of me, can't seem to find, even though I looked all over the place. Now I have to rub my thunder thighs together until we finally find it. Interact with the quest beacon. You're going to have to repair it, so hopefully you have some of these basic materials on you. Yeah, I always forget the chromatic metal, but at least this time I actually had it. You'll generally always get a piece of technology you don't have, and that advanced mining laser is really good. Dun dun dun, didn't use my analysis visor on this to see the class, and it's unfortunately a B. Better than a C, was hoping for at least an A class because it's worth more. Even though it's completely beat up, it's a free ship, so let's claim it. You should only have to really repair the pulse engine, that way it'll be flyable. Technically, you don't even need to repair this first ship that you find that's all busted up. You can just fly your other ship up here and then change ships when you get here. If you do decide to repair your busted up ship so it's worth more, don't repair any of the technology because that doesn't affect the price. Only repairing the cargo slots will affect the ship's value. The thing is, I'm far too lazy to go through that drama, and we're fixing to have millions of space bucks anyway. I didn't really scrap this ship for the units. I mostly did it for these upgrade modules, as well as a chance at getting a storage augmentation. We got lucky and got one. Gonna sell the regulators I got from scrapping that ship. That's gonna put us a little over 3 million. Then, like a complete and total space bonehead, I forgot to sell those 3 modules for nanites. Some weird disco dancing looking alien named Nada contacted me and invited me over to his crib called the Space Anomaly. The Space Anomaly is a pretty amazing place where you can meet up and play with friends. You can buy pretty much any technology you want for nanites or salvaged data. It's glorious. Nada will be located in the balcony. You're going to interact with him. He's going to have some storyline which I have to skip. Then he's going to want you to talk to Polo. Go talk to Helios. He's really into plant information, so if you scanned a whole bunch of plants when you're out there adventuring, he will pay you a ton of nanites for those scans. Talk to Selena at the back of the anomaly. She sells exosuit upgrades. The very first one we're going to get is the Hazmat Gauntlet, followed by the Personal Refiner, but we're mostly after the Refiner Mark II. Whenever you summon the anomaly to a system you've never been in, you can upgrade a slot. This time we're going to do cargo. Head over to the Construction Research Station under the Technology Modules tab. Purchase the Medium Refiner. This will unlock the Large Refiner. You're going to want to grab this as well. If you want to be even lazier, buy a Galactic Terminal and put it on your wall. And just like that, we're completely out of salvage data. Helios sells Starship upgrades. We're going to need this positron ejector here to farm oxygen. Don't forget the fragment supercharger to go with it. Finally, I am done questing until the very end of this video. Back on the space station in the exact same system. I forgot to sell all those modules, so we're going to do that right now. And I also wanted to check this vendor to see if they had anything good. That life support's glorious. We're going to grab that. You don't want to just plop your technology in anywhere. You do want them really close together, but I can actually get a bigger bonus if I get the C-class oxygen recycler out of the way for now and move this one over here. Putting the C there will now give us a bigger bonus. Even though we bought both of the personal refiners, we're only going to install the Mark II. Luckily for me, a little Gek dude flew in here with magnetic resonators on them for sale, so I bought some up and plopped it right in there. In one of the other two systems I visited, I remembered that the galactic terminal here had some quantum computers for sale, so we bought up what we needed, and guessed it, we plopped it right into our suit. Now we're good to go. I figured installing the Mark II would be just like having a medium refiner strapped to my back. Sadly though, it doesn't run off good looks, it takes carbon. Here in just a bit, we're going to be making an oxygen farm, which is going to help us make a pile of chlorine as well as cobalt and ionized cobalt, but unfortunately, I didn't do any research to see how awesome or sucky this place was going to be. I just based it off how beautiful it was. In my excitement, I built this glorious box base here, started converting all the oxygen that I had into, chlorine, because I'm thinking I'm fixing to be rich, but that's not going to be the case, y'all. Headed back over to the trading post base, hit up one of these little ship guys here and sold pretty much all the chlorine that I had made. This was going to be the first drop in the ocean of chlorine I was about to sell. In order to farm tens of thousands of oxygen quickly, I like to install the positron injector into my Newb ship. I'm going to upgrade this positron injector as much as I possibly can, and that includes buying S-Class upgrades, and yeah, right now I'm pretty short on the nanites needed. And why looky there, the same exact Gek has those magnetic resonators. I guess I should have bought more, didn't realize that the fragment supercharger needed it. And of course this little guy has the upgrade I need, and I don't have the nanites. Time to go farm. I'm figuring right now in our current state, the very best way to get us some nanites is to farm these damaged machineries as well as these buried technology modules, because I can turn those into nanites. But the real master plan is to finally scan the last life form I needed on this planet. I already had 6 or 7 before. This is going to give us a whole bunch of nanites. I ended up farming 23 of these salvaged data. Now I had planned on turning them into nanites, but we don't have to anymore. You can only install 3 of a specific S-Class module that you purchase, so with these 2,210 nanites, I can buy all 3 of these positron modules. Under normal circumstances, I would have to find another space station that actually sells the positron module, but yep, there is a way around this. You can actually refresh the vendors. First, you will want to hop out of your ship to create a restore point. Head over to options, then just reload your restore point. It will refresh all of the vendor's inventory. You can keep repeating these steps until you get all 3 of the specific S-Class module that you're looking for. It's totally handy. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I put the fragment supercharger in here, but didn't upgrade it all the way. Now we're ready to farm a whole bunch of oxygen. By a whole bunch of oxygen, I mean you're literally going to grab me by my Viking face and left directly into it. I should have well over 10,000 oxygen by now, but instead I have 264. This place sucks. Let this be a lesson to you, traveler. Don't go out of your way to build an Omni base until you figure out if it's going to be worth your time. Just because a planet or moon has water on its surface doesn't mean that you're going to find the ideal situation to have an awesome oxygen farm. Unfortunately, this place sucks too, but it does have a whole bunch of buried bones all over the place, so let's just farm those up while we're here. Natural burial sites can be a really good place for the young traveler to make a few coins early on, especially if you're as lucky as me and find the most glorious pieces of skeleton possible. Sometimes when you come across a burial location site, there'll only be 1 bone, and sometimes there will be a whole bunch of bones like now. The most common bone you're going to find is the blue bone, and of course they're worth the least. The next will be the purple bone. They're not worth too bad, but that gold bone, when you find that gold bone, it's definitely going to give you a bone. Think I probably spent about 10 to 12 minutes farming bones. Here's all the bones I got, and I actually got quite a few. Let's take off. Still looking for a water planet? Let's head over to a Korvax system. Some of my bones, especially those gold ones, can be worth well over 1 million units, and this is all going to be depending on the age of the actual bone, because the older the bone is, the more they're willing to pay for it. For 15 minutes of work, we make about 5.5 million units. That's not bad, but it's not really great either. We're in luck. It looks like there's actually 2 water planets right next to each other. They're so daggone close from this perspective, it looks like they're almost touching. That awkward moment when you feel like this place is probably gonna suck because there's like purple palm trees, a beautiful blue ocean with yellow grass, and floating islands nearby. Yeah, it's almost like you know deep in your heart this place isn't gonna have any oxygen. Just kidding, this place actually turns out to be pretty good because you're looking for a cytophosphate with a secondary element of oxygen. That's perfect. Scan all the minerals and plants underneath the water, and you're hoping for as many of them to have oxygen as a secondary as possible. If you end up with 2 cytophosphates that have a secondary of oxygen, well, that place is godly. This is the final plant I need to scan, and it looks like it also has oxygen as a secondary. I headed back to my old oxygen farm to grab up all the refineries and snag up my galactic terminal. Also had to rename this place to "This Place Sucks." Now I can head back to the real oxygen farm location, build my base, and start making some real, actual money. Cytophosphates like to kind of grow together in big clusters, so if you're lucky enough to find a planet that has 2 cytophosphates on it that both have secondaries of oxygen, it'll probably take you 2.5 minutes to farm 9,999 oxygen. Yeah, it's pretty psycho. We were out there for 8 to 10 minutes, and this is how much we ended up with. You can sell your cytophosphate to the galactic terminal. I just recommend that you get a big fat stack and then do it all at once. I'm going to be using our refineries and this oxygen here to create vast quantities of 3 different types of elements. First, we're going to be mixing oxygen with salt to create chlorine. Once we convert all of our salt into chlorine using oxygen to get even more chlorine while we're doing it, we're actually going to use that chlorine and oxygen to make even more chlorine. I will be doing the exact same thing with cobalt as well as ionized cobalt. Whenever my refineries or my personal Mark II runs out of oxygen, well, I get my butt right back out there and farm up a whole bunch more oxygen. I keep getting a boat ton of salt every single time I go out there to farm oxygen, so I decided to throw down 4 portable refineries just to convert all the salt into chlorine. Realistically, if you just keep pumping oxygen into those refineries and just have all that chlorine in there, it's not going to take you very long to get 8 to 9 stacks, and that's exactly how much we need. It looks like we have plenty of chlorine for stage 1 of the master plan, so I'm back out here again farming more oxygen. This time we're going to be making a whole bunch of ionized cobalt. You can do that by simply adding cobalt to the refinery, mixing it with oxygen. That will create the ionized cobalt for you. Once I get a massive stash of ionized cobalt, well, I'm going to stick that ionized cobalt right back into my refineries by itself and turn it right back into cobalt. And I really didn't take into account all that salt, so I ended up with way more than 8 stacks of the chlorine, and that's okay. My first sale is going to be at the trading post base. I remembered that this galactic terminal here wants to sell cobalt as well as chlorine. That's going to be awesome. When you sell a massive quantity of something that the terminal already offers for sale, well, you're going to end up crashing the price like crazy. And see that it's at minus 79.9. Now we can buy it back for real cheap. This galactic terminal also wants to sell chlorine, so we can do the exact same thing. Now that I have flooded this galactic terminal with like far too much chlorine, it really wants to sell it for super duper cheap. Look at that, minus 80.4%. Well, we're going to buy it all right back. With 44 million ready to burn a hole in my pocket, I think it's time for me to find a little crappy S-Class ship that I can use until I find that really cool S-Class Sentinel ship later. Don't let the magic of editing fool you. This actually took me a little bit, about 15 to 20 minutes here, got bored, went up to the space station, sold some more crap to make a little bit of money, then came back and found this glorious little S-Class hauler here that is blue and yellow. I mean, it's my colors, so it's totally perfect. When a ship like this flies in, I know I said I look for a crappy little S-Class ship, but this one's actually good enough that I'd probably keep through my entire playthrough. But yeah, master plan is still to find a really cool looking Sentinel ship later so I can share the coordinates with you. Our little hauler deserves a glorious name, so I think we're going to go with the Cheese. I still have a little spreading around money left over from those sales, so let's buy up this ship right here. I'm not going to keep it, we're actually going to scrap it so I can get a bunch of nanites. We're going to need thousands of nanites to upgrade our ship, our exosuit, and to a lesser extent our multi-tool, so we're going to have to scrap quite a few ships. The good news is scrapping ships is actually quite fun, and sometimes you'll find some useful technology that you can keep or also scrap for elements and materials. Sodium chromatic metal and wiring looms are pretty handy, so we'll keep those. Scrapping ships is actually an amazing way to farm sodium and chromatic metal once you get to this stage. We'll need the sodium for our shields, and that chromatic metal is going to make us a whole pile of warp cells. The wiring looms we'll use for upgrades later, and wow, we got 5 A-class upgrades as well as a storage augmentation on that ship. That's totally awesome. Let's sell these scraps off to this guy here and see if I can actually afford another ship to scrap. That one's not too bad, but of course an S-Class lands when I'm totally poor. I might as well scrap the Radiant Pillar as well, and it is worth noting that you can take all the upgrades off of her that you put onto her, so you're not going to lose anything really, which is totally awesome. Once we get everything pulled out of here, I'll just stuff it into my backpack and stick it into the cheese later. I found another cheap A-Class that I could afford, but this time it actually has a really good S-Class upgrade module on it, so I think I'll just snag that and stick it in my backpack too. Being able to just reinstall all this technology into the cheese is saving me a whole bunch of nanites, because back in the day we used to just destroy everything and have to rebuild it all over again. Relatively soon we should be having our very first freighter encounter, and before that happens I like to pimp my ship out as much as I possibly can. In order to pull that off, I'm going to have to use all that seed money I made from selling the Chlorine, Ionized Cobalt, and Cobalt so I can scrap these ships in order to get all these upgrade modules to sell them for nanites. Once I get a few thousand nanites together, I'll check and see if the vendor has any useful modules, and if he does, I'll get them installed into the cheese. When you start upgrading your ship with those storage augmentations, don't make the mistake of upgrading your cargo section first. You really need to focus on getting your technology upgraded as much as you can, at least in the beginning. We don't have a lot of storage augmentations to work with quite yet, but I upgraded what I needed to in order to get my shield placement just right. Being able to lay my shield modules like this will give me the most shield strength possible. They also sell S-Class Hyperdrive modules. That's going to save us a bunch of gas and give us a whole bunch of Hyperdrive range. Anytime I run out of nanites and I can't afford to buy the next upgrade, well, I'm going to go back to scrapping ships as long as the money holds out. At this point, we're starting to get a little broke, so I'm probably going to have to go find another galactic terminal somewhere to sell my Chlorine, Ionized Cobalt, and Cobalt. And scrapping ships will slowly bleed your money away. Like I paid 11.4 million, and we're only going to be able to sell that scrap for 8 million, but that's enough to buy one more ship. The good news is we had just enough money to convert into nanites to upgrade all of our shields as well as our hyperdrive. That's totally win. I called the Space Anomaly here in these systems so I could hit up Hyperion for some more ship upgrades. The very first thing I'm going to get is the economy scanner, which is going to help us find all the wealthy systems. The efficient thrusters will help us save on launch fuel, and if we want to go to red systems, we can get this cadmium upgrade here. And finally, this instability drive will save us a bunch of tritium. While I was there, I probably should have grabbed that C-Class abrasive upgrade from my shields, but I didn't have anywhere to put it, so I'll just grab that later. The last thing I need to do is upgrade my instability drive. I have all my Chlorine, Ionized Cobalt, and Cobalt on me, ready to make a pile of money as well as nanites. Making money in nanites isn't my only focus. I'm going to be upgrading all my technology and cargo slots, as well as looking for all 16 glyphs. With our instability drive fully upgraded, we're ready to go. It's time to warp to a new system, and it is worth noting if you have that economy scanner on it, you can specifically pick wealthy systems. When we first get to that new system, the very first thing I'm going to do is find the space station and land on it. I'll head over to the nearest galactic terminal and check to see what they have for sale, hoping that they have at least the 3 elements that I'm looking for, although there will always be cobalt for sale. If you sell your Chlorine or Ionized Cobalt to a terminal that doesn't already sell it, well, that stuff's just going to disappear into the void and you will not be able to buy it back. Without spoiling too much, later I figure out that the Ionized Cobalt route, well, I'm not finding a lot of terminals that are selling Ionized Cobalt, so I should have just made a whole boat pile of Cobalt instead. First, I'll check the ship module vendor to see if he has any useful upgrades, especially if I'm still looking for some. Then I'll hit up the Exosuit vendor and see if he has any modules. Whenever they have something good like this S-Class movement module, I'll go ahead and snag that up, then stuff it into my technology slot. It'll likely mean that I'll probably have to scrap a few ships and sell a few more modules in order to constantly keep affording all the upgrades that I'm going to want to get while I'm here. Time for an Exosuit upgrade, and again, it's tempting to upgrade your cargo, but instead definitely go for the technology early on. Sweet, now I can arrange my jetpack in such a way that I get the best adjacency bonus. Of course, an S-Class exotic lands and we have no money. While I'm on the space station, I'm keeping my eyes peeled to see if I can find any of these travelers here. The first question will generally be a little bit of storyline and lore, but ask them a question the second time and they'll give you the location where you can get a glyph. Since we're in a brand new system, I called out the anomaly, hopped on board, and got another Exosuit upgrade. After getting that upgrade on the Space Anomaly, I'm free to head over to the unknown grave location from that traveler, and once you interact with them, you will finally get your very first glyph. Once you unlock all 16 glyphs, you can pretty much go anywhere you want in the galaxy, and wow, those like snake butterflies are pretty awesome. You can kind of do this stage first right here. Now I'm using the economy scanner to actually locate a trade outpost. If you need nanites like early on, definitely go there first. That way you can get a sail in at that galactic trade terminal there before you head up to the space station, do your sell there. That way you'll have a whole bunch of money to do some ship scrapping to make a pile of nanites. Now, unfortunately, this terminal here is only selling cobalt. That is why I should have turned all that ionized cobalt back into cobalt, because we'd be making much more money right now if I had done that. It is what it is. Smooth Brain Hawks Gaming will figure that out soon enough. Heading to another wealthy system, and this will be our 5th jump, and I think I've been playing for about 5 hours now. I'll probably have a freighter encounter. Oh, yep, definitely a freighter encounter. Beating up on all these bad guys here should be ridiculously easy since the cheese is pretty much fully upgraded. All I really need to do is just get in range and then barely sneeze on them with the positron ejector and they're gonna pop. After you beat up all the bad guys, the captain of the ship that you just saved, as long as you didn't end up shooting that too, will extend out an olive branch and offer you to come aboard. Actually, his ship is mostly a piece of crap and he just wants to give it to you because he hates his job. If you would like to get a Juggernaut Freighter, you're not actually going to ever be able to have that encounter until you own a freighter of your very own, so go ahead and snag up this one right here for free. There's 2 different ways to trigger the Juggernaut encounter, but yeah, you definitely have to already own a freighter of some kind before you can actually do that. Unless you want to spend another 5 hours waiting for another freighter encounter to spawn, you better inspect this freighter and go ahead and claim it right now. Skipping a little ahead to the point where I'm about to make my first 100 million. Now, I've been able to sell a half decent amount of my chlorine, but man, I've barely been able to sell any of this ionized cobalt. This is the point where I decide to finally turn all of that ionized cobalt back into cobalt. Now, this is what I love about No Man's Sky. I've made a whole bunch of these how to have the best starts, and generally I have a really good master plan, but this time I was actually kind of a bonehead. Had I just made a huge stash of ionized cobalt and then turned it into a whole crap load of cobalt like this right here and just focused on selling chlorine and cobalt, well yeah, I'd be over 200 million right now, but hey, learning is how you go from smooth brain to big brain. I've been at this for a few hours now. I've been going from system to system just like I showed you when I ran across this nice little S-Class exotic here. I kind of like these little teeny S-Class exotic ships and, you know, might as well just go ahead and grab that and add it to the collection. The one thing I've been having a huge problem finding though are these daggone travelers. Like I've never been this robbed before. Making money though, that's definitely not a problem when you have a big, gigantic, massive blob worth of cobalt. And since there's cobalt on every single terminal, well, I'm able to sell it twice down at the trading post and here in every single system I visit. Using this method in each system that I visit has helped me upgrade my ship as well as all my technology and cargo slots. I have quite a few slots upgraded. My biggest bane though has been finding travelers so I can get all 16 glyphs. Generally at this point I would find all 16 by now or pretty daggone close to it. I think this traveler here marks my 7th unknown grave location so far, and if I had to guess, I think he probably slipped off a banana peel up on the top over there and plummeted completely and totally to his death. God, it's like you totally have enough time to scream your guts out, then take in another deep breath and scream again. This has most definitely been the most unique traveler location that I've ever found because that is way taller than it actually looks. Still looking for travelers when this tight little blue and gold solar ship flew in. Well, had to let my money burn a hole in its pocket and buy it. Dude, Hawks, what the hell does that even mean? I'm going to leave it in here because money doesn't have pockets. One of the biggest reasons why I keep warping to wealthy systems is, well, I'm trying to trigger the Juggernaut spawn to actually happen. Unfortunately, my OBS smoked a whole bunch of space crack because I don't have any sound for this footage, so my apologies, traveler. When you hop into a wealthy system, you do have a very small chance to trigger the Juggernaut spawn. Just make sure you blow up all the engines or it will leave. Going for the engines first will ensure that the Juggernaut is basically crippled and can't go anywhere. This will give you plenty of time to take out all of those anti-freighter cannons that are sprinkled all across the top of this thing. There are all kinds of other turrets trying to shoot you, as well as ships trying to engage you. Ignore all of that and only take out the engines and go for those freighter cannons. If you destroy the last freighter cannon and the engines are completely disabled, the captain of the Dreadnought will surrender. You can land inside. You want to hop out of your ship and scan the deck with your scanner to see if this is an actual S-class Dreadnought here. If it isn't, well, we're going to have to do this all over again. To start that process, and it can take quite a while, you need to head over to Options and reload your restore point. This will take you to your last restore point. Now, I was prepared for this. I keep hopping out of my ship and creating a restore point before I leave each system. I was planning for the Juggernaut to eventually happen. All we have to do now is find that exact same system we're just in and warp over there. The Juggernaut encounter will happen again right away. Ultimately, you want to keep doing this over and over, blow up the engines, take out the cannons, land on the ship, and eventually it's going to be an S-class. Now, I have to say I have never in my entire life ever gotten an S-class capital ship on my very first try, and neither have I ever gotten it on the second try until now. That is totally crazy. Oh yeah, I'm totally excited. This is me before I realized I had absolutely no sound for this footage, so yeah, off camera I'm about to get butthurt. These Juggernaut Capital ships can be relatively expensive, but 178 million is basically a drop in the bucket to me at this point, so we're going to snag it up regardless. When you claim this freighter, it's going to give you the option to transfer your base from your old freighter to this freighter. We didn't actually build one, so I don't have to do that, but that is a really nice feature. I'll build the Omni Freighter base that builds all bases later, but for now we're going to give this amazing Juggernaut Freighter here a name. I think I'll name her the Big Block of Cheddar Cheese. That's the perfect name to give any Juggernaut that you find on the second try. Yeah. Mini jumps later, I was finally able to track down the 16th Traveler, which finally gave me the very last glyph that I needed. Well, that took way longer than it has ever taken me before to track down all 16 glyphs. I kind of got robbed. I figured, there's always room for one more. This last sale of Chlorine, and I don't plan on buying it back this time, will put me over 2 billion units. I'll keep the Cobalt just in case for later, but then I found something really cool that I didn't expect to find, an S-Class multi-tool. Generally, when I get all 16 glyphs, I'll highlight another smaller creator that found a really cool multi-tool and go get that one, but I think this time I'll go ahead and just buy this one and then show you how to upgrade it. Here's the portal address. You'll need to come and get this multi-tool if you'd like to get it, and it's super duper easy to find because it's literally on the space station itself. I'm going to rename the system to S-Class Hand Tool, and it is worth noting that if you'd like to come to get this multi-tool yourself, make sure you go here without multiplayer turned on. It is rather ironic that as rich as I am, I still have to go out into the world and farm for buried technology modules so I can get more upgrades, but that was actually quite when I found an S-Class life support module. What's crazy about this is I only bought 2 of those S-Class life support upgrades way earlier in the game, and I never went back and bought a third one, and then I ended up finding one here randomly. That's kind of win. I guess I'll farm up a few more of these buried technology modules for the Salvaged Data, then head up to the Space Anomaly. It's literally way past time to hit up Selene and start upgrading our environmental protection. I guess it's not totally horrible that I'm just finally now getting around to upgrading all my hazard protection, because I was barely on the planet's surface before when I was looking around for travelers. I'll probably only end up buying a couple more of these jetpack upgrades, then we'll head out and hit up another vendor because she doesn't have anything else I really need. EOS is our multi-tool hookup, and my favorite weapon to put in there is going to be the pulse splitter. The optical drill will help us mine more effectively, and the waveform recycler will help us scan quicker. I'm going to grab all 3 of the pulse splitter upgrades, and I'm going to grab the last 2 of the scatter blaster upgrades. With that out of the way, we can now hit up the synthesis laboratory. There are a whole bunch of blueprints that you can actually just buy here for nanites, and we're going to buy all of them. I'm going to piss away some of my salvaged data on a couple of these storage containers, and then we're going to buy all of these flower blueprints except for the albion pearl orbs as well as the nip buds. We don't really need that, but if you want to buy them, go for it. Eventually I'm going to find a beautiful planet to build a base on, and I always like to use these glass cuboid rooms. While I'm at it, I might as well snag up the cylinder room, the corridor, as well as the door. Welcome to another episode of Smooth Brain Hawks, where we go over all these memory fragments and why I should have clicked on these before I wasted all my nanites buying upgrades just a little while ago. Each traveler grave location that you find will give you one of these memory fragments, and when you click on one, it's either going to give you an upgrade module you can sell for nanites or a piece of technology you don't have. Sometimes the piece of technology it gives you is something that you don't really care about, but sometimes you're going to get something that you really do care about, and that's going to save you a bunch of nanites. All the technology you get from these memory fragments will be pre-built technology, so you don't have to install anything with a bunch of stupid ingredients. You can just put it right in there. Rocket boots really isn't a technology that I go out of my way to buy, but since it's free, I'll stick it in there too. I just purchased the optical drill, although I haven't installed it yet. That's why it gave it to me. After I get all my upgrades here on the Space Anomaly, I will usually head over to one of the wealthy systems and just start buying the crap out of absolutely all the elements that I can buy the crap out of. I'll probably spend about 15 to 20 minutes doing this, buying all the elements off all the ship guys that fly into this space station until I get at least all the elements covered and I have a decent stash of each one of them. Stuff all of those elements into your storage container at your base and then head over to a stellar cartographer that is located on any space station. We are looking for a specific chart, so your mileage may vary. You might have to check a few systems, but if you purchase a random chart and it comes back as one of these purple charts, then that is exactly the one you want. You can purchase the exact chart that you want specifically as long as you have navigational data, and unfortunately I left all mine in my storage container. Luckily for me, he'll give me the exact one I'm looking for nanites, so that's perfect. You should only need about 5 of these purple alien charts in order to find the monolith, and we need to find the monolith in order to find the portal. After I get all 16 glyphs, I always like to build a base right next to a portal so I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. Keep plotting courses on your map until you find the monolith location. That ancient plaque isn't going to do it, but I ended up finding the monolith on my next try. There will be 4 knowledge stones here at the monolith. Make sure you check out all of them and learn at least 4 words before you interact with the monolith itself. You'll have to answer the first riddle correctly in order to ask the second question, and the second question is actually going to give you the location of the portal. If you screw up the first question, you're going to have to reload your save, and if you're in a Viking system, you'll need a Viking dagger in order to get the actual portal location. If you're in a Gek system, you'll need a Gek relic at that point, and in a Korvax system, you'll need a Korvax casing. Without these items, you will not be able to unlock the portal location. Now don't freak out too much, it's actually really easy to get any one of those 3 items, and to do that, all you have to do is go to a trading post or park your freighter in that specific system and buy them off the little ship guys that land there. Needless to say, if you plan on tracking down the portal location, just make sure you have the right class-specific item on you before you head over there. Yeah, you're probably building boxes just about as good as I can, so I'm going to skip that and go right to charging the portal itself. This will be another instance where you want to be prepared. Now make sure you have enough red elements, blue elements, orange elements, and a metal like copper in order to unlock all 16 glyphs. Once it's all charged up, you can pretty much go anywhere you want as long as you have that actual portal address of where you want to go. If you want to use the pulse splitter in your multi-tool, you're going to need to know how to make deuterium, and you can do that by mixing tritium and dihydrogen together. Here in just a little bit, I'm going to show you how to upgrade all your technology slots in your multi-tool so you'll have plenty of places to put all the upgrade modules that you can ever imagine stuffing in there. There's kind of 2 ways to do this. One way, you can spend hundreds upon hundreds of millions of units on just buying the upgrade slots, or we can actually go out there in the world and find them on our own, and it doesn't take you all that long to do that, which is totally a bag of wind. Both methods will require you to find this multi-tool upgrade station on any of the space stations and then head over there. See, you can purchase one of them for 5 million. And you're probably like, oh, Hawks, that's not too bad. You have a couple billion units. Well, the thing is, once you buy one, the next one is exponentially more expensive. It gets more and more expensive each time you buy one, so it gets really, really outrageous. Instead, you're going to want to hit up our good buddy, the cartographer over here. Again, we're going to be looking for a specific chart. The good news is, this time I remembered to bring all my navigational data, so we're going to be able to buy the exact chart that we're looking for. Don't come here thinking you're only going to be buying a couple charts. I'm probably going to buy at least 20 to begin with, and I'll likely need even more than that. For now, I'm just going to snag up 20, and we might as well see what random map he drops, and that is not the right one. That one can lead you to a crash ship, which, you know, is actually pretty good, but that's not exactly what I'm looking to do right now. Just like with any of these charts, once you plot the route, it's going to send you to a random location. Now, it might not be the right location on the first one. Let's check it out. Supply depots are actually pretty cool. You can go over there and beat up a bunch of sentinels and take a bunch of free resources, although they'll hate your guts for a little bit. Let's plot another route. What we're actually looking for is a manufacturing facility, and that's it. What I like to do is keep plotting a route until I get a manufacturing facility up, but I won't go to any one of those other locations. That way they won't come up again and I won't waste a chart. Ultimately, you'll eventually get in the situation where only manufacturing facilities will keep spawning one after the other, and that's what we're looking for. All we have to do now is just blow off the door and run in there. Once you're inside, the sentinels won't bother you, although they'll definitely keep staring at you constantly. Unless you know quite a bit of the alien language in that specific system, don't waste your time going around and looting everything, because if you screw up the question here in just a second, after we interact with the station here, you're going to have to reload your save and do everything all over again. Learning the aliens' language is so important on so many levels in No Man's Sky. See, I only know Interloper right now, and that's not going to help me at all. Luckily for me, there's actually a bypass to the question on occasion. You just need to put a microprocessor in there. I guess I'll have to make one really quick. That way we can't screw anything up. This option doesn't come up very often, but it does come up enough that you should probably make yourself at least 5 or 6 of these microprocessors and just have them on hand. Picking any option that requires you to use a microprocessor is the correct option. In our case, we only had 1 wrong answer and 2 correct answers. See, even though we barely know the language, I was able to bumble through this and select the right one, although it was the microprocessor, so you can't fail it. We can choose either the multi-tool expansion slot upgrade or learn the recipe. We bought a lot of those on the Anomaly just a little while ago, so yeah, I'm going to definitely get the expansion slot. We're doing pretty good. We only used 2 charts. We already got 1 multi-tool expansion slot. Let's plot another course. Hopefully it's going to be another manufacturing facility. Cha-ching, looks like we found another manufacturing facility. Now I believe there's only 1 other building type, so this is actually pretty awesome. Alright, that beetle looks cool. Might as well scan him for a few extra space bones. Here is another option I forgot about. If I had remembered to stock up on a few Viking daggers, I could have also passed that with flying colors, but luckily for me, I guessed the right answer. Later in the video, I'm going to be farming for a whole bunch of Sentinel ships. You learn so many words. Ironically, it was in a Viking system, so had I done that before doing this, well, I would know a bunch of words which would help me, but ironically, I just keep guessing the right answer anyway. Sometimes you're going to get this failed message where it tries to send you to a building type that you've already plotted a course. You just continue to spam plot a route over and over until you get a success. The only other type of building we haven't plotted a course to yet is the operations center. We don't want to go there either. We still want to look for the manufacturing facilities. At this point, the only building type that can actually spawn and we can plot a course to is a manufacturing facility, so I'm just going to sit here and keep spam plotting a route over and over until it works. We have now created the situation we've been after, where only the manufacturing facilities will spawn each time we plot a route, so now we don't have to waste any more of our maps. We're going to be able to get an expansion slot for every map we use. That situation is the perfect situation. Wow, now that multi-tool actually looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's an A-class, that's not too bad, but I never buy anything unless it's an S-class. Anyways, back to what I was saying before, that's a perfect situation, but eventually you're going to run out of manufacturing facilities that the game's going to let you plot to, meaning you're going to have to find yourself a new system, which I think I've found right here. I found another Viking system, and we might as well just upgrade this multi-tool as much as I can with all the multi-tool expansion slots that we found in the last system, and I actually ended up finding quite a few. The other cool thing about this system and why I picked it, this cartographer over here actually hooks me up with the exact map I need when I buy a random map, so that's perfect. Here's another option you might run across. Once you get enough rank with the Viking, if you're doing it in a Viking system, you can actually pick that as an option. It will always be the correct answer as well, so cha-ching. I still suck at the language, but I'm getting all the answers correct. Yeah, no, I actually ended up choking quite a bit, and you know why? It's because I didn't know the freaking language. I created the perfect situation again in this system. The only problem was it didn't last very long. The good thing is I upgraded this multi-tool a little bit more than I expected to. Oh my goodness, I'll probably never need this much, but hey, let's upgrade her all the way. I know I pretty much only showed you the minimum of what I needed to show you in order to upgrade your slots, but understand this took me about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes to pull off. It most definitely would have been easier to head over to YouTube, go look for an awesome tool there, then go and get it. Much faster than getting our own tool here, but yeah. There's something to be said about being able to find your own S-Class multi-tool and then having the knowledge to be able to pimp out the slots, as many of them as you want to stuff in there. Since I'm in the mood to keep doing some slot farming, I'm going to head over to a black market system and farm some of the freighters over there. Doing it in a black market system will really help us because we're not going to pull any Sentinel hate, but the actual controlling faction, well, they're going to hate your guts for doing this. If you remember earlier in the video, the Korvax that actually owned the Juggernaut before I owned it attacked that system, so we're going to have to go and get a whole bunch of revenge upon them. Seriously, don't worry about your faction too much. You can actually repair that later. In our case, we'll have to just give them a whole pile of Korvax casings. When farming these black market frigates, no matter where you do it, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of black market loot, but the only thing I'm really going to be interested in is the Salvaged Frigate module. I will need to farm quite a few of these in order to unlock all the technologies available on my freighter. On this run, it looks like we got 6 of them. That's actually not too bad. Now let's go sell all this other pirated loot we got. Before you jump over there, just make sure that you have the piece of technology installed on your ship that allows you to evade scans. That way you won't have any drama. When you hit up the good guy terminal, you're going to notice that they're going to pay top dollar for that pirated black market loot. So that's actually a pretty good way to make a little bit of cheddar when you're slightly poor. Here is the second way you can force the Juggernaut to spawn. Now, if you've been playing for at least 4 or 5 hours and you've made 5 jumps, when you hop back into this black market system, there is a really good chance that the Juggernaut is going to spawn here, and you can farm it until it's an S-Class if you want to do it this way. Since I already own one, I don't need to go through that drama again, although I did find it on the second try. I wish I could find where the freaking door is. Oh, there it is over there. Now we can hop inside and upgrade our freighter just a little bit. I don't plan on building my freighter base quite yet. I'll save that for the end of the video, but we might as well spend up those 6 salvage frigate modules that we just farmed up. I'll probably end up buying this frigate fuel if I can afford it, but first let me buy the scanner room and then we'll focus on getting all the other essentials. I'll need the teleport chamber for obvious reasons. I'll definitely need the double cultivation chamber and the stellar extractor room. The orbital exocraft station could be good, although it's a waste, and I'll get that frigate fuel. I'll farm some more frigate modules later, but for now, let's go look for that awesome Sentinel ship. We're going to need to go to a black market system with the word dissident in its name. When you arrive in system, scan each planet and moon until you find a dissidence detected, then head over there. Realistically, you don't even need to hop out of your ship if you don't want to, because it's actually faster to farm all this stuff from inside your ship. I'll be doing that a little bit later. Every Sentinel ship that we find is going to require us to have radiant shards as well as these inverted mirrors. The resonators have 2 different drops. One will be the inverted mirror. You've seen that already. It's the common drop, but the one we're really after is called the echolocator. You'll need to find at least 1 echolocator in order to find the harmonic camp. If you click resonate on the echolocator, it's going to give you a base location. Now this place is like a little teeny tiny hole in the wall. It's going to have a multi-tool cabinet, and it's also going to have a little terminal where you can track down as many crashed Sentinel ships as you could ever possibly want to go out and find. You won't really be able to do anything here until you interact with the harmonic interface. You're going to have 2 different options, input override glyphs. Now you're not going to know what that means until you scan the memory registries. You'll be given 3 random math problems to solve. Now in my case, the first one is 8, the second one is 13, and the third one is 3. When I think I'm right, I'm ready to access the main interface. This is where we're going to input our override glyphs. The answer to our first math problem was 8, so we need to look for the 8th glyph on the list and input it right here. The answer to our second math problem was 13, so yep, you guessed it, we need to look for the 13th glyph. I'm fairly certain that 2 plus 1 equals 3. Now, if we completed all those math problems correctly and entered all the proper glyphs in there, we'll have the access granted option and we'll be able to lift the lockdown on this station. And I guess if you unlock one of these stations for the very first time, you're going to get the Aeron Turbojet, which is a skin you can apply at the appearance modifier. Once unlocked, you can interact with the harmonic interface as many times as you want. You have the option to unlock the multi-tool case or locate dissonant spikes. A dissonant spike is always going to lead you to a crashed Sentinel ship, and on these planets or moons, there are going to literally be hundreds, if not thousands, of crashed Sentinel ships all over the place. I mean, there's probably not thousands of crashed ships, but there's definitely more than you ever possibly want to go looking for. Just make sure you place a save beacon down. That way you can find this little station a lot easier later. Before we head out, let's deactivate the multi-tool case and see if it's even worth a spacecraft. Now, chances are it's going to be a big gigantic hunk of junk, and if you want, you can just grab it up for free and sell it later. What I'm really hoping for is just to get lucky enough to find a really cool Sentinel skin, and if I do, then I'll spend the time to find it in an S-Class. Oh well, that sucks. I like the Sentinel Eye, but unfortunately every single crashed Sentinel ship that we find on this planet is going to look exactly like this one. Every one of these crashed Sentinels is going to have a piece of glass as well as a random amount of pugnium and a brain inside that you're going to need to loot. I literally have a whole pile of inverted mirrors, and I didn't even farm any of the radiant shards, so let's farm up a few radiant shards. We're still going to need to take that screwed up brain somewhere to get it turned into a harmonic brain. You can find this location by probing the boneheaded brain subconscious. It'll send you to a location that looks like an alien monolith, and there will be 4 words at each location. Had I done this first instead of upgrading my multi-tool slots, I would have actually understood what the heck the aliens were talking about. Interacting with the alien device will give you the option to slide the disgusting goo-covered brain inside. When you do this, it's going to spit out a harmonic brain, and what the heck is that little fish doing flying out here in this crazy storm? As long as you have 1 inverted mirror, 3 radiant shards, and a harmonic brain, you can now interact with the pilot interface. I'm not going to lie, it is a little bit of drama to track down these Sentinel ships, but it is well worth your time because they are worth a whole pile of units. If you don't want to crash the market with Chlorine, Ionized Cobalt, or Cobalt, I highly recommend that you use this as your go-to method early on to make a bunch of units. You'll be able to make a whole bunch of nanites as well, selling all those upgrade modules because they'll have those upgrade modules just like any other ship will. Just make sure you have the economy scanner on board so you can find the dissonant black market system really super easily, and you also might want to upgrade your exosuit, and I mean the hazard protection, just in case the planet sucks like the one I was just on. I wasn't really super impressed with that Sentinel skin, plus it was difficult to farm there because the weather totally completely sucks, so this system here actually has a really cool Sentinel skin, and I didn't even really know that this was an S-Class until right now. I totally freaked out. It's like, bro, seriously? It's not like I immediately found this. I actually spent about 2 hours farming it, and if you want to find the exact coordinates to this location so you can get one of your very own, here it is right here in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, I'm hoping if I throw a save beacon down, you're going to be able to see that in multiplayer mode, so hopefully that'll also help you find this location. Come to Papa, little darling. I absolutely love the Cylon eye on this, and overall the ship skin looks really good. I'm super duper stoked that I actually was able to find this in an S-Class. A ship like this most definitely deserves a glorious name, so I think I'm going to name her Sharp Cheddar. Here is the portal address if you'd like to head on over and pick up this glorious S-Class Sentinel ship and make it your very own. I already showed off the coordinates before, but I'll try to remember to throw down a comm ball and a base computer. That should also help you find it. The Cheese was a really good ship. She served me well through the majority of this gameplay. However, if I would have just farmed the Sentinel ship super early on, I wouldn't have to upgrade 2 ships. In preparation for this moment, I spent about an hour off camera scrapping ships before I even went to the system where I found this S-Class ship. I pretty much only have enough augmentations to pimp out the technology slots as much as I want. I don't think I'm going to have very many left over in order to do the cargo, I'm just gonna have to deal with that for now because quite frankly, even though I said it was fun to scrap ships, I am sick and tired of scrapping ships. Welcome to Cheddar 1, a beautiful paradise planet where I planned on building an amazing nanites farm for the community. Once completed, I'll be able to go from just under 7,000 nanites to well over 100k nanites in no time at all. Not only will you be able to farm more nanites than you'll ever need, I plan on stocking those planters over there with all the plant materials, so stop on by and pick some up. You can stuff a bunch of extra mold in those storage containers because we have a ton of curious deposits. Since I need to fill up these planters anyway, let me show you how to find your own plant material easy. The plant material can be found from the little ship guys that land at the trading post or on your freighter. You could also just install the hazmat glove inside your technology area of your exosuit and go out there and find the specific planets and moons where that plant will grow and pick them there. The thing is, I'm quite honestly gonna say, ain't nobody got time for that when you can just track down these little ship guys that are super easy to find and buy it from them. The good news is you won't need a lot of each specific plant material because we can clone as much as we need. Here is a complete list of all the plant materials and their corresponding elements. In order to clone more plant material, all you have to do is stick the plant material and the corresponding element into a refinery. Facium's a little bit different. Now it can make two elements, so if you mix oxygen and facium together, you'll get more facium, and if you need mordite, you just put facium by itself into a refinery. All the plants are planted, so they'll be fully grown when you get here. Here is the portal address. The planet is called Cheddar 1, the most glorious planet ever. Time to start farming some runaway mold. Now the second that you shoot it with your laser beam, it's going to start rolling downhill whatever direction that might be. That's why I kind of trapped him in this little box here. It won't take you all that long to farm up all the curious deposits, so once you do, head over to the save beacon, create a restore point, and then just reload your restore point. When you get back, all the curious deposit spawns will have refreshed and you can go and farm them all up again. You can do this as many times as you want. If you plan on hanging out for a while, do yourself a favor and farm up at least 14 stacks of the runaway mold. That'll give you one full stack to put in each of the refineries I have on site, plus one inside your personal refiner. Of course, I'm a glutton for punishment because I just can't handle not having hardly any cargo space in my favorite Sentinel ship, so I'm gonna scrap some more ships. I'm not going to put you all through the pain and suffering that I went through for about an hour to an hour and a half of scrapping ships, but rest assured, I scrapped myself a whole bunch of ships. Yep, not joking. Scrapping ships while processing runaway mold at the same time, you know, I just don't see a downside to that. I'll quickly sell all the loot I got from scrapping those ships for a little while, and then we'll go ahead and buy up this ship too, because there's always room for one more. We'll stuff all those 20 augmentation slots into the cargo section, but you know what? I probably should have farmed up 29 because that way I would have had a 69 cargo with 40 technology, and that would have been way, way better. Not because of the number 69, but because we'd have more slots. Back to the runaway mold farm. Now remember when I said grab up at least 14 stacks of the runaway mold, then stick it into the refineries? Well, keep on farming that runaway mold, create a save, log out, log back in, farm up the runaway mold, keep doing that over and over, letting those refineries process. Then when you hear them tick over, that means they have 4,095 nanites inside. Scarf them all up, and if you want, you can keep topping off the runaway mold while you're at it. As long as you farm up at least 14 stacks of that runaway mold, you will be able to keep up with the refineries and how fast they process them into nanites. This will create the perfect situation where you can just kind of be laid back and farm these while you sit around your big fat butt watching a couple episodes of Stargate SG-1. The other 5 refineries are going to be located outside by all the glorious plants that I have ready here for you to pick. So why did I set up all those plants? Well, the main super base quest that I haven't even started yet is going to require a little bit of each of these plant materials to complete some of those quests. So yeah, I'll usually set this up on my freighter, but I wanted to set this up in a community area, so if you have the glyphs and you know the portal address, you can just come here and get all the plant material you need, you know, and farm a bunch of nanites as well. I'm just about to finish up my first episode of Stargate SG-1, and this is how many nanites we have so far, 77,000, which isn't too bad at all. I totally got sucked into Stargate SG-1 and ended up watching a couple more episodes. Tope would be definitely saying indeed at this point, but we are up to 167,000 nanites. Head over to Cheddar 1. It is an absolutely beautiful paradise planet with perfect weather. Let's build a community out here. Just do me a favor. Try not to give me too much crap about how ugly my box bases are. Before I go out there and farm some more frigate modules off camera so I can buy the rest of my technology, I might as well buy up these super duper expensive freighter colors. I'm going to get the yellow, the blue, and the black. I don't even think it really matters what color these juggernauts are. Sean, you guys knocked it out of the park. These capital ships, at least this style right here, is so amazing. I don't think I'll ever get one of the old ones ever again. Whenever I do one of these best starts, I generally show you my entire base build on the freighter, but instead, I built that off camera. This time I'll run you through it to show you what it looks like. I'm going to start questing again and start my main base quest. Before heading over to a Gex system, I constructed a little overseer's workstation area for him. Now I'm in the process of hiring him. Once I do, he'll head over to my freighter and meet me there. Let me run you through my base build here on the freighter. Now it's nothing super duper elaborate. It's pretty compact, but it's going to help me build a base anywhere I want to actually build a base. And we're not just talking about boxes, we're talking about an actual base that is just a bigger box. Traveler, along this journey, I tried to teach you quite a few things, and I always have the habit of basically cramming it down your throat or downloading into your mind like the Matrix. In this video, I had to accomplish an awful lot, and I actually did quite a bit more than I usually do in any one of my best starts. This video right here is the longest No Man's Sky video I have ever created. A lot of effort goes into making a video like this, and I'm not even kidding you. Between filming this video and editing it, as well as doing voice, it took me at least a month to complete, and that is an insane project to try to pull off. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, as well as leaving this video a like, because it really helps the algorithm. Now, don't fool yourself, Traveler. Although we have accomplished quite a bit in this playthrough, I literally have only completed a drop in the entire bucket of what you can do in No Man's Sky. All my love to my Patreon and YouTube channel supporters. Each and every one of you make my day. Appreciate all the support that you give me. I guess I could go start my base quest with the Overseer, but you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to go fishing. Peace, Travelers.